Very excited for our guest here. He's the founder and guitarist of Five Finger Death Punch, and that's cool. That's all well and good, and we're going to talk rock and roll. We're going to talk a Metallica tour. That's all well and good, but there are bigger and better things possibly happening in the life of Zoltan Bathory. I mean, like, that's cool to be a rock star, but to be on the next Call of Duties, that's next level stuff, right?
Yeah, it's very surreal, actually.
Yeah.
Until it happens, you don't realize how big this actually is. How many people play video games, especially this is the most successful, first shooter game in the world. So this is a massive, massive franchise, and you don't know it until you're in it. Like, holy cow, this is, I mean, obviously we live the life already. We play in front of a lot of people touring the world. So this is not new to me to have that much attention on us, but man, it's surprisingly huge. Well, I shouldn't say surprisingly, it's not surprising, but
it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, you and I are about the same age, so we're kind of grew up in the pioneer generation of video games, and we we saw the evolution of them being just these 16-bit games into 4K, 8K movies now, like what Call of Duty is. And like the trailer for this upcoming Call of Duty Warfare 2 and Call of Duty War Zone Season 5, it looks better than some of the movies that I've seen lately.
Oh, and it's getting better and better beyond that, actually. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with Tetris and, Pac-Man and,
Excite Bike.
Right? When Street Fighter came out, that was like, oh my God, look at this thing, right? So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were there. Evolution.
As a kid, I used to spend hours playing Kung Fu Master in the Pittsburgh airport.
Oh, nice.
Trying to hit those planners that would fall on you and high kick those planners. So I'm assuming you were a fan of Call of Duty before, but how does this happen? I mean, how do you get picked? I mean, there's some things that I don't know if people know about you as far as how much of a badass you are in real life, but did that have anything to do with it and your martial arts background, or is it somebody you know, or what?
Yeah, it's a combination of those things. Obviously, Call of Duty can pick whoever, and do they really need me? So it's a little bit of a luck. It's a little bit of being right time, right place, and a background. So it's a combination of sum total of like everything in life. You get to a point. Well, you got to a point for a reason. Like there's a crossroad. You arrive to the crossroad because you were traveling that path, right? So it's a combination of all those things. So Call of Duty has an pun intended, an army of military advisors. When they do this photo shoot, they build these characters. There are military special operators, former special operators, to advisors. Everybody's there to make sure that the characters are accurate, the weaponry is accurate, the equipment is accurate, right? And so I was friends with some of these guys. I met some of them in overseas, in Iraq. Some of them are just my friends, So I move around in that world to begin with, And there is this company called Tech Gas that are a dear friend of mine, all those guys, and so some of them were already in Call of Duty as operators. Right. And so, so I was moving in the circles to begin with. And, this conversation came up many times, first as a joke, like, man, you drive monster truck. I have some videos fighting a fighter jet, you're a martial artist. I still, I still compete in jiu-jitsu. So, both judo, jiu-jitsu, black belt. I got second in the nationals in master black belt masters division. So I'm doing my stuff, right? Plus obviously the band. And so people are like, man, your 24 hours is insane. The things you do, and you should be a video game character, right? And it was sort of like a running joke. And then one day, like, well, probably you should be for real, and so somehow this developed into this conversation. I ended up getting invited to some of these photo shoots, and it kind of developed from there. But it's a very secretive process. Like I had to keep it under the wrap for about a year. Like even my band members didn't know. Not until a week ago.
Wow.
Like it's man, this operation, Call of Duty, I mean, they're super secretive. Nothing leaks. It's really rare that you catch some news before it happens, unless they wanted you to catch it. It's super secretive, and it's a massive operation and very sophisticated and incredible team of people. Before this character even would happen, you know, I had to go to all these different locations, different equipment, different photo shoots, you know, in the desert and in the mountains of Utah, and I mean, all over, right? And then video captures, video shoots, so they can see your motion. And then if they like what they see from various characters, then they pick one. And then that person will get scanned in. So then you go to the spaceship. That's their secret location. When you walk in, you know, it's super secure. You would not know that it's where it is, and it's there. And when you walk in there, there's these giant globes of, you know, like, looks like a time machine. You're sitting inside with a 1,000 camera, and then it's scanning your body, your facial motions, and, you know, and that's just the first phase. From there, it goes to the digital team that will build a character. So it's another, you know, it's insane creative team that will make this happen. So, you know, like, look, my band and what we do, like, it's a big operation. We're on the road with, you know, like 10 buses, 8 trucks, whatever, you know, and have 200 people with us, right? So I'm not, you know, it's not new to me to run with a massive operation, but man, when I was looking at it, like, holy cow.
But what's more secretive?
This is insane.
Zoltan, what's more secretive? The weeks and months before release of a Five Finger Death Punch album, making sure none of the tracks get leaked to the internet, or the process that you went through to be a playable character on Call of Duty?
Oh, 100% Call of Duty. And it's, yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah. Like, my management didn't know a week ago. Like, I had to be like, you know, like, they were like, man, if this leaks, you know.
So what did you tell the band? Like, I'm sure that in this past...
No, I could not.
Yeah, but this past year, there had to have been things where you had to be a part of, especially getting ready to go out on tour with Metallica. And you're going, I just can't show up, guys. They probably thought that you had, like, some secret life.
I mean, you know, they already used to that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I'm zipping around the world. So it would be not surprising that I'm wherever they pop up in Japan or Abu Dhabi or whatever, you know. It's completely normal. So I'm doing that anyway. So it's, and if they would have saw me running around with military equipment and, you know, or flying a jet or whatever, that's also things that I already do anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I go to these tactical trainings, I go to, you know, combat driving. When we drive and knock each other off the road. So basically simulated car chases and all that. So I do those trainings anyway. Those are, you know, or military combatives training. Like, I train that as well. MACP, this is a modern army combative program. So I was part of that. I have a certification that's run by the army, you know. So I do these things anyway. So if it slipped, it would be a surprise, but it didn't. Like, I mean, I had to be like tight-lipped, couldn't say a thing about it, you know. And the second part is the platform. When you make an album, right, the music can be slipped, and we all have equipment to play that music on. You know, a song slips out and you can play it on your phone or wherever, right? The computer, you can, but a game cannot really slip, because the whole game has to be finished. The only thing that could slip is maybe a picture or two, if, you know. But no, I mean, like, and it's, you know, look, it's so huge. I mean, I was super careful because it's super exciting. I mean, think about it. Went through life trying to check little green boxes of check, I did that, check, I did that. Like, the things I wanted to do in life. I have this bucket list, right? This was far out, you know. But you know what I mean.
But it's a cool check. That's a cool box to check. So within the Call of Duty, there's other playable characters. Tell me if I'm wrong here. The Burger King. He's going to be in it, right? You can play him. Is that right?
I don't even know. I don't know.
Snoop Dogg.
I think something like that. Yeah, Snoop was in it before. Nicki Minaj is coming out.
Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
that I don't know.
And also, I heard this Heather character can also be a playable character.
Right.
Do we know anything about this Heather Gracie character? Right. Do we know anything about her?
Yeah, so she was in season 4. She's gonna be in season 5 as well. So my girl, basically, you know, she's also a jiu-jitsu fighter. She's she's part of the Gracie family. So, you know, she's Carlos Gracie's granddaughter. So she has the DNA, you know, she's the bloodline of jiu-jitsu. So And she is obviously they're together for a reason. She has a similar life. She flies airplanes. The only thing we argue about who's going to fly the plane, really, And so she has a similar lifestyle, and so we went to these shoots together, these video shoots and scans, and she was she came at first, so she was in the season 4 as Anna Vega. That was her character name, and it's still in. You can get the skin and run around, and that looks like her. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting thing. I think this is how we're gonna decide who takes out the garbage now. We log on both, and and let's go.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like if you're like you can't play you if you're playing with her. You have to play her because that's the ultimate put over, right? For a couple, you've like, oh no, honey, I'll be you. You can be me if you want, but if not, you can be Shredder. That's fine.
Imagine that conversation in public. I'm mad at you. You shot me. And everyone's like, what?
I can't believe your friend in Japan shot me.
In a video game.
Yeah, really.
In a video game, right? I have to be very careful that the context is in the video game. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun going to happen. I think we can do a lot of funny videos about this, her and I, going at it. Probably we should be on the same team. That's just the way we can,
that's how you deal with this. That's how you save a relationship there, Zoltan. Right. Be on the same team.
Right. So I just keep taking out the garbage. I don't know.
Could you imagine, though, 16 years ago, and I say 16 years ago, and I know you know why, because that was the debut album for Five Finger Death Punch, The Way of the Fist, and The Bleeding, which is a song that kind of puts you on the map as far as mainstream goes. 16 years later, all these things that you've accomplished, and now being in the video, like for some people, this video game thing, they're like, oh, well, why is that such a big deal? It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's the coolest thing ever. You should understand how big that is. But you're part of a very select few as far as the metal world goes. I mean, it's like you and Metallica as far as most albums sold like in the past 2 decades. Did you ever imagine that you and Five Finger would be at this level 16 years later?
There's a double answer to that, because when you dream of things, you should not limit yourself. Dreaming things and thinking what you wanted to do and setting goals, the only person can limit you is yourself, obviously, right? And it's kind of like the same thing with a fight. When I go and do let's say a competition, right? If I lost the fight in my head, if I don't think I can win it, then I will not. It's one of those things. You lose it in your head. And this is the same thing with any career that you're going after. If your dreams are not insane, they're not big enough, right? So it's just part of that process. You have to dream of insanely huge things. You have to set goals that are, from your current state, seems unachievable. Because it's more like not how far you can go. It's who's going to stop you. It's really, that's the game, And so I always had that attitude. I mean, because I was a martial artist since I was a little kid, 9 years old. I started judo, and it changes the way you see the world. You don't look at obstacles as obstacles. You look at them as challenges. Like it just becomes natural. Like, oh, I can beat this situation, and then you do it long enough, it doesn't even occur to me that something is impossible. In fact, you tell me like this is not possible is when I get, all right, then let's get my sleeves up, because now I am interested. In a second you told me it can't be done, that's when you got my attention. So I can say that I didn't dreamt of it. The dreams are the wish list and the bucket list is, I still want to be an astronaut. There will be a day when you and I will talk about this, when I already am, with space tourism, it's possible, right? Sure. So I can set these seemingly ridiculous dreams, because coming to America and doing what I'm doing from Low Hungary, when I didn't speak English, we didn't have passports, we couldn't go to the West, was already a ridiculous dream. But I checked market. And I did a lot of those in life where I learned that I trained my mind basically with this, that there's nothing really impossible, I just have to focus, I just have to believe and just go after it, right? So when it comes to this, where we are today, I can't say that I didn't dreamt of it. It's surreal. In one way, I'm blessed, obviously, but also I worked really hard for it, Yeah,
and you should be proud of that, right? So there's that other level too, where you dreamt it, you visualized it, as a lot of athletes will do,
Right.
and you finally get it, and it's not like you take it for granted, but there's a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. You know, to have a band, especially in the metal genre, do what Five Finger Death Punch has done after almost 2 decades in this day and age is very, very difficult. I don't think people understand how difficult it is to do the things that you guys have done in that band. It's tough.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. But as I said, it's what you see on the surface and what people think this is, and not just my band, any other band that became successful. What people think, and if you read the online keyboard warriors and what they're extremely misguided of how this happens and what really happens. It's in fact it's so difficult that especially this genre, people who are complete idiots just will not make it. It's not possible. It's just not possible. Like you really have to know what you're doing. You have to avoid all the landmine. It's not one big break. It's not one big decision. It's not like accidentally, MTV liked your music video, put it online or put it on the program and you just blow up. That era is gone.
Right.
So you have to really navigate and build this brick by brick and attend to it. And so building the career today is very, very difficult. A lot of discipline, a lot of focus. Right?
I would like to think too, Zoltan, that it's kind of gone back to a day and age, which I can appreciate, that where bands like Five Finger Death Punch get their following by their stage performance and their fans when they meet them. And you guys have always, I know that for a fact, been good like that. And so, you build that following because you don't have the MTV, right, so much anymore. You don't have that kind of push that the 80s and the 90s bands had. So you do that, and then you end up where you guys are about to end up, out on the road with Metallica, which, by the way, let me say this. This tour with Metallica coming up is kind of wonky. Like, you guys are on some, Pantera's on some, Wolfgang's on some. I hope you check your Google Calendar often because I couldn't figure out what all dates you guys were on this tour. But that's exciting. I mean, they're the goats, right, of the genre. Right. So that's exciting to be out there with them.
Yeah. So when it comes to the calendar, so that part of the story, basically what we picked, it's easy for us because they do a double date, right? So they have a weekend, they play 2 shows, Metallica, and we are always on the second day. Right. So if you look at the calendar that way, so any weekend and double day, if it's Saturday, Sunday, then we'll be on Sunday. It's Friday, Saturday, then we'll be on, always on the second day, always direct support. So our spot, even though it looks confusing, our spot is exactly the same. The second show of every weekend, second day, direct support. So that's always our spot. Europe obviously was, the thing just changed because Ivan had his hernia surgery. Unexpected, so we had to step out, but that schedule would have been the same. So at least for us, it's not so confusing. Definitely going to be a challenge in a way where the stage is a very unusual stage. It's a circle.
Yeah.
So there are people in front of you, there are people behind you, and you have as a band, you have a habit of motion and how you project toward the audience, and now that's gonna have to be recalculated. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but as I just said, I like challenges. So
check.
that's fine.
Check. Circle
but,
stage.
Yeah.
Check.
But right, middle of the stadium, absolutely. But that's just that's just the name of the game. But as you said, this is absolutely huge. I mean, these days we don't really open for anybody, but this is different. This is Metallica. I mean, what are you gonna say? Twist my arm, like yes, we're gonna go and open. Yes,
yeah, that's what M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold said too. I mean, they're a headlining band now as well, and it's Metallica. Remember when they opened for Metallica, and I was talking about that tour. Is there any band that you guys have been on the bill with? Maybe more or less in a festival atmosphere that, I don't want to use the word intimidate. That's not where I'm going, but pushed you, energized you to take your set to the next level because they were so good. And you're like, wow, we've got to step it up today because that band was just ridiculous.
Right. But plenty, actually plenty. That happens pretty often, actually. When you see a band, that's the initial reaction. I'm speaking for the whole band, actually, not just myself, because my reaction when I see something great, something amazing, it inspires me immediately. Oh, yeah, I need to do that. If somebody's better at something, it gives me an option like, okay, now it's this, the level was moved up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's here. I have to hit that, right? So that's kind of how life works. If you that's how you accelerate your evolution. You have to see examples. Somebody that did something better than you, or somebody's really good at something. That's accelerate your evolution. There are two choices, right? It's either inspire you to get better, or you get jealous and mad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who gets inspired, right? So when I see a band that really puts it down, that day we're gonna go harder for sure, even more. And if I have the other bands standing on the side stage, guests, absolutely. That means, because that's your peers, it inspires and it kind of pushes us like, no, we're gonna it's not gonna be a lazy day. It doesn't matter. It's 110, 120 degrees out there. We're gonna go full force regardless, right? So throughout the career, it happens all the time. I mean, like imagine Rob Halford used to stand on side stage singing every song, or back in the days we toured a lot with Hell Yeah, right? Vinny would, and even if we weren't on tour, Vinny Paul would come out to a lot of our shows. He knew the songs, singing them. It's like, you look at the side stage and Vinny Paul standing there dancing around singing the songs. It's like, man, this is the stuff we grew up on. We gotta make sure that this is make him proud,
Yeah.
And yeah, Vinny used to wear shirts or jerseys, pop out to any random shows. He would, he was a real fan of metal. Same with Rob Halford. Rob Halford loves heavy metal, and we were on tour with them. He didn't have to come on stage, but he was there every day.
Wow.
Every day, every single day, he would be standing there. And Ivan and Rob are really close. Ivan got a lot of help from Rob Halford when he was trying to get sober. Rob Halford is sober for decades, so that was one of the person Ivan could call when he was on the path of sobriety. So, but like I love Killswitch Engage. We played a lot with Killswitch Engage, right? And the Rammstein. When you see that, you go, "Oh my God, we have some work. We have some work to do." You know what I mean? Like, yes, absolutely. When I see these bands, we play that much harder. We put so much more effort in it because these are friendly competition.
Were you ever lucky enough to get fed by Vinny in one of his famous grill outs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually that happened almost every day on tour.
Yeah.
He had a specialty. He had a dish he called 5-finger death chili. This was it's a real thing. So it was a 5-finger death chili, and then it would be really funny. He would be like, oh, "Come on, boys, let's get that 5-finger death chili," and he would cook chili. And some of the guys would go over to his house. Like, we were very close with Vinny.
Yeah, he is. I've heard some. I'm friends with Kyle and Hell Yeah, and some of like their merch guy Luke and stuff. And I've heard stories of just the if it's funny because the fans, they see you guys in a certain light. They see you on stage. Like, they would look at you and judge you. Crazy guy, crazy hair. He's rocking out his sweat and banging his head, hard music. Blah, blah, blah. Alice Cooper, that guy's a nut job. He wears snakes. Oh, my God. Zombie, just a crazy man. These are the sweetest guys in the world. The most educated, most intelligent, most articulate men I've ever spoken to in my life are all the hardest rockers that have ever existed. Rob Halford I couldn't get him off the phone numerous times. He would call randomly in one of my old radio shows. Just the nicest, sweetest man ever.
That's funny because actually we also joke about this. Like, we had sometimes, I remember Ivan and Rob Zombie was having a conversation, right? And they were talking about something to the effect of like, man, if the fans would know what we're talking about right now, like I had moments of, you're 100% right. People would think like, oh, these guys are on stage, hair flying and raw, And then I had a moment. This was actually a pretty real thing. I used to work in the space industry before the band. I was a consultant to private space companies while we were on tour, right? So the first 2 records, I kept the job because I didn't have to be in Texas where these companies are. And so I would just get on the phone or I do the work online and then, send it to him. And there was a moment running off stage because I had a phone conversation that was connected to the space station. So I was on a conference call with one of the astronauts on a space station, right? And so we're on a bus and, monkey show, people throwing bananas at each other and hanging from the chandelier. And I started yelling, guys, shut them up because I can't hear a word and the space station is like 10 minutes and it's out of range. And like everybody looked at me like, what? But like it was a real thing. So yeah, so people would, they just don't know. Like we look like some crazy, hairy, guys jumping at on stage. Everybody in the band has some other ventures and some stuff that the public doesn't know about.
Zoltan, I got to tell you, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. That's the best rock and roll story I've ever heard. I kid you not. That's the best rock. A rock star had a phone call with a space station and told other rock stars to shut up. I mean, really, that's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool. I got to let you go, unfortunately. I actually want you to come over and have dinner so we can talk more because you're such a great dude. And I love Five Finger Death Punch. And I'm so happy you guys are going to kick ass out there with Metallica. That's going to be a hell of a tour. Call of Duty, of course, Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty Warzone Season 5. You can play Zoltan as a playable character. But I want to leave you. I got one last question because I'm curious about this. You are so high up with your discipline in martial arts. I mean, black belt, both jiu-jitsu, judo, you compete, so on and so forth. You got to. You're part of the Gracie family. I think that's like a prerequisite. When is the last time you actually got into a street fight where somebody didn't know who you are or what you were capable of, and you couldn't contain it or stop it?
I was maybe a kid, like in my teenage years. And I was a teenager. It's one of the key elements of martial art is, obviously, and combatives is situational awareness. Don't be where you shouldn't be. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, avoid the fight at any cost. There's no, especially street fights, no rules, no winners. Everybody loses in a street fight. It's really rare that you're gonna get away with something, even if you won, sort of, right, and you hurt somebody. There will be real life consequences. Especially today, there's a camera somewhere. So nobody really wins a street fight. And number 1 is situational awareness. You really have to watch your surrounding and just don't be where there is something. Second, you can communicate. Don't fight. Try to figure out. That's a skill. That's a martial arts skill, of getting yourself verbally out of the fight, creating the distance, de-escalating, right? So, obviously this is what I study and teach, So that's the whole idea, that avoid it. I have the skill set. So if I had to fight, I have the skill set and to do so. But that's last resort. I like fighting the way I fight, in a controlled environment where people can tap out, people can signal that, okay, you won, or I can like, okay, you got me, right? So it's friendly. And there are some injuries here and there, but when you compete, it's a competition. But it's pretty safe. And there's a referee and there's a medical team if you need it, right? And I prefer to keep it there. And I love it. I enjoy it. I like fighting. When I walk on a mat, I'm actually probably the calmest state in my mind. While I'm fighting, because you can't think about, oh, did I close the garage door? Did I leave the stove on? Did I pay my, whatever bill? Because you can't think of those things while you're fighting, right? So your mind is actually at peace. The world falls away because there's you and this other guy, and you have to solve the situation.
If you and your wife get into an argument, you just like Heather go, hey, let's just go roll around and let me beat your ass for a little bit. Is that how that works?
Well, same thing. Situational awareness. You avoid. Yeah, I'm good at this. You avoid the fight. It works at home in domestic relationships, man. Situational awareness. You see she's cranky, go get ice cream. Bring a bucket of ice cream, man. You know what to do. You're just not doing it. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm smart, man. Look, we are together for 9 years. I mean, I don't think we had a serious argument just yet.
That's good.
Because why would I? You know, she's the same way. She's a martial artist. Like, why? If you can't work it out, you know, I mean, there's no reason to escalate.
It's a lot of ice cream. Actually, it's a lot of ice cream, Zoltan. A lot of ice cream. 9 years.
I mean, you know, but she's a funny character, though. Like the first year we were together, and I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. She wanted a knife. I'm like, oh, you gotta be together for a long time.
My wife, our first Valentine's Day, bought me a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 out of a stranger's car in the Target parking lot.
And she's still around, right?
Still around 10 years later.
That's what I mean. That's why you just know, like, yep, that's my woman right there. But yes, same thing applies. Situational awareness, man. You see it coming. Yeah. You know, you see it coming. So just avoid it. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason. The only way I fight you, if I had no choice.
Right.
I will exhaust every possibility to avoid a fight. But when that line is crossed, when I see that there is no way out, then just understand, then we're gonna go now, and there will be no tapping out, there will be no mercy, because the second place in a fight is a bad place to be. You know, you don't want to be second in a war, you don't want to be second in any kind of street fight, and you don't know what happens. A 15 years old kid can knock you out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By chance, by just hitting you in the right spot. You know what I mean? So you can be a 250 pounds, you know, 0% body fat juggernaut, and you can get knocked out easily. Just right spot, right speed, right? You know, so you have to be, you know, you have to understand that. You respect the opponent, you know, regardless that I'm going to commit a lot of disrespect right now, but respect that it can happen to you. So that's kind of my idea on that. Like that's the rule as a martial artist. Avoid at all costs. But once there is no way to avoid it, then now it's on. Now this is the full force of, you know, decades of martial arts coming at you.
With your permission, if I ever get in that kind of trouble, which I hope I don't, if I can just say I'm friends with Zoltan, that I would appreciate that.
It usually works.
All right, brother.
So, hey, man, go to callofduty.com. You know, the scary guy on the front page, that's him.
That's him.
Coming at you.
That's his wife, and he knows the Burger King, too.
Right. You know, and if he's not coming at you in real life, he'll find you in Call of Duty. So
right. Exactly. No matter where you're at, he's going to find you. He's going to find you.
You can't hide.
That's awesome. All right. Zoltan Bathory, thank you so much, brother. It was a pleasure. This is the first time we've ever met. An absolute honor. You're just such a stand-up great dude, man. And I'm so happy for all your success, the band's success, and I wish nothing but the more success in the future. So good talking to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.